This is Godox's new flash, the Godox V480, and this supersedes the V863, V862. And this is a very compact flash that is going to be very nice to use for you in your kit. If you don't know me, my name's Cameron. I'm a wedding and portrait photographer based out of Raleigh, North Carolina. So this flash is going to be from the perspective of someone using it at weddings and sometimes events, but mostly weddings. For the sake of ethics, Godox did send this flash over, but they are not sponsoring or paying me to do this video. They do not get to see the video before it goes out. So all these thoughts and comments are, in fact, my own, as they are in every single video. And this is the second flash in the Godox V lineup that has this touchscreen ability. The first being the V100, which I hope to get my hands on soon, but you know, we'll see. But this is a very small compact flash that has a lot of cool features, and we're going to talk about it all on this video today. So first things first, let's talk about what comes in the box with this V480. You're going to get your flash, obviously, then you're also going to get a carrying pouch, a foot stand, a diffuser, charging block, charging cable, and some documentation. Now, when I first got this flash, I was curious to how many watts it produced. You know, I'm used to using the Godox V1, which is 76 watts, or the V863, which was also 76 watts, but I couldn't find wattage on this anywhere. So I had to hit up my guy, Francisco J. Hernandez, and he said that because of the model being a GN50, it's typically going to be kind of close, so it's probably going to be around 50 watts. So you can probably get around 50 watts out of this flash, which as a wedding photographer is probably more than enough that you need, especially in, you know, reception spaces or whatever. Using this off-camera flash in reception spaces is probably going to be more than enough. For the build quality of this flash, this is a 282 gram flash, 361 grams with the battery included, and it's going to be just like built like the V860 or the Godox V1 with this hard plastic. I mean, it's pretty good quality. It is significantly smaller than the Godox V1. Hold on. This is a side-by-side comparison to the Godox V1, so as you see, it is significantly smaller. Now, obviously, the difference being the tops. The V480 does have that square top, while the V1 has that circular top. Typically, the circular top is going to give you a more even spread of light, but if you're using this with a, you know, octabox or some type of diffuser, then it doesn't really matter. With this flash, you are getting 650 full power flashes with the 1.7 recycle time at full power, which I think is really good. I mean, I don't think anybody's shooting at this full power for their entire wedding and taking more than 650 images at a wedding. So I typically shoot 1/8, maybe 1/16. So I'm probably getting 1,000 flashes plus. So that's more than enough for me to last on a full wedding day with one single battery. Obviously, it's always good to have multiple batteries for everything, for your cameras, your flashes, but you can shoot an entire wedding day probably on this one battery and this one flash. This also does have the ability to high-speed sync up to 1/8000 of a second, and if you shoot Sony like me, this also does have global shutter support, so you can shoot from 1/80,000th of a second. I believe that's what global shutter is. The type of battery that this flash takes is a VB22 battery. It's the first of its kind. It looks very much different than any of the other flashes, but you can charge this flash or charge this battery directly through USB-C, and you can also charge the flash while you're shooting because the flash itself does have a USB-C input. This flash also does have an articulating head going from 90 degrees all the way back to 135 degrees and giving you a full 180 twisting effect each side, so it's, you know, works just like any other flash in Godox's lineup, which is good. This flash can be used in manual or TTL, and flash power in this flash 1/1 all the way to 1/256, so you're getting pretty much the same power through and through from all your other flashes in the Godox lineup. One thing I also like about this flash is that the menu is very easy to navigate. So you have two menus, one swiping to the left, one swiping down. When you swipe to the left, you have your Wi-Fi off, which is a standard on-camera flash. You have your sender button, which is also known as master mode. You have your receiver, which is also known as slave mode. Then you have your menu, which you can go and change a bunch of things. And then you have your wireless, which is setting up what scan channel ID that you want to be on. Your downward swiping menu, you have everything that you need to access pretty quickly. You have your high speed sync, photocell S1, S2, which is slave 1 and slave 2. beep. You can turn beeps on or off. I personally like them off. Modeling light, your screen lock, and multi-flash. So since I mentioned a modeling light, this little thing on front is going to be your modeling light. I honestly thought this was going to be a fill flash at first, but it is a 2-watt modeling light, and you can set it up from intensity 1 all the way through intensity 10. And now, even though Godox says this is 2 watts, I honestly feel like it's a lot stronger than 2 watts, because if you are a hybrid shooter and you need like a quick little light to flash or to illuminate a scene, like if you look at this, I'm in my room and it's completely dark and it's like illuminating the entire room. And my settings aren't like anything crazy. I don't have my ISO cranked like 2500 ISO. I think I only have my ISO on like 500. And so this is bright enough to light a dark illuminated space. So when you think weddings, hybrid, thinking receptions and dim lit spaces like that, I think this 2-watt modeling light is going to be enough for you to light a scene if you're doing hybrid coverage. Now, obviously, it's also going to help you focus in dimly lit situations as well. You turn the modeling light on and then you can bounce your flash up to the ceiling and create a nice little fill. And yeah, so I think this modeling light is cool. The fill flash feature on the Godox V1 Pro is really nice too, but the modeling light feature I think is going to be more beneficial for photographers in these dimly lit situations. On top of the flash, you also have your card extension, your bounce card, and then this little thing, I can't think of the technical name for it, but you have your bounce card. So if you need a little bit more illumination on your flash when you're trying to illuminate a scene, then you can do that as well. Another thing that I really like about this flash is the screen locking mechanism. So it is touchscreen, and so you don't want to be, you know, playing around and accidentally hit something out of whack. So it does have that locking mechanism so you don't accidentally knock things into a different setting, and you have to hold it for 2 seconds in order to unlock it. So one little tap is not going to unlock your screen. Now, no product is perfect, and I think one thing that I did notice about this flash that I thought was very interesting is the battery and the battery compartment and battery door. The battery does not lock in before the door closes. You closing the door actually is locking the battery in, which I think is pretty interesting, and I think it could make for some dangerous battery swaps, especially if you're not thinking the battery's going to shoot out. Then you take the door off and then the battery can just like go flying somewhere, and then you're down a battery if it breaks. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this does have a 1.7 second recycle time on full power, which is kind of on the slower side when it comes to full power, but like I said, in weddings, chances are you're not shooting full power at every flash. When it comes to these compact flashes and these cheaper flashes, because this flash is only $170, which I didn't mention earlier, the $170 flash, you're not expecting the world and you're not expecting some all the time professional quality. But I think this does possess all the professional traits of when you think professional flash, just in a smaller compact body and touchscreen. And I think it's really innovative. And I think that if more companies made stuff like this, I think more people would get it because it is smaller, because it is lighter, because it's going to be easier to carry around in your bag, and because it is going to be easier when you're carrying around your camera and your flash, and it's going to be easier on your hot shoe, because a lot of times when people are using camera straps, the flash is kind of hanging down on the camera here, so it's kind of pulling on the hot shoe. So because it's lighter, it's going to do less damage to your hot shoe, and you're not going to have a lot of hot shoe replacements, which I think is good too. So shout out to Godox for making this, and I think this is really cool, really innovative, and I can't wait to put this to use. With that being said, that is it for today's video. I hope this gave you some insight on the new Godox V480. Again, not paid or sponsored. They don't get to see this video before it goes out. So when they see it, at the same time that you're seeing it. But if this video was of some value to you, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Hopefully there's a lot more content like this where this came from. And yeah, until next time, y'all be good. Peace.